What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of U4 to Your Eternity, Season 3. This is episode 19, and with me, as always, I have Bluespade.
Yeah, so we follow up on after the ending of the last episode, in which we see Mizuha somehow alive, but it turns out,
Yeah.
to no one's surprise, that this is still the Knocker version of her, and like I think according to her, like she's trying to, you know, to take over, the Heisei clan to try to take control of the Knockers, and then
Well, also, I like how everybody's surprised to discover that this this is the Knocker version of Mizuha and not, the human version.
yeah.
Uh, but, I mean, there's no way the human version of Mizuha would survive that fall.
No, I mean it's
So,
confirmed because we see her ghost just hanging above, just
yeah.
watching this happening.
Yeah, we see her watching, like, what's going on.
Yeah, and of course, we see, I think, okay, it was Hana, it was her friend Hana.
Yeah.
So so the Knocker Mizuha offers Hana to to drink a cup of water, and
No,
before,
oh yeah, okay, yeah, it was her. Yeah, so it was her at first. And then like we see everybody like, well, it's really weird because this kind of comes out of nowhere because she says that it's some kind of weird tradition in her family to like, uh, if you trust each other or something that you're to have the person that I guess display their trust to drink this water. Um, and it's just the way it's set up is just like there's no way that it's not some kind of a trap. Because you would assume that some like the water is poisoned or something
well,
she did something to the
well,
water.
obviously, just what they did with the water at the school, it was
Yeah,
infected with the Knockers. So, but
yeah.
like Hana almost considered drinking it, but Yuki just steps in, grabs the cup, and he just drinks the whole cup himself. And
Yeah.
yeah, just basically just saying that that he
So
wants to be.
okay, so now that he's drank some water that has like that has knockers in there, like I mean the knockers are at least in his body now. We would assume, right? I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
and so he talks to Mizuha saying he cares about her, wants to be his friend, and then of course he points out that Mizuha is the actual real Mizuha is right-handed, and this knocker that he's talking to is left-handed, which of course catches the knocker off guard, and she just runs away and then heads straight back to Fushi.
I
Um,
think that's funny that that's what gave it away, and not the fact that the real Mizuha would actually just be dead.
yeah, uh, and of course, I mean, Yuki ends up nearly passing out from from drinking that water. I mean, he's not dead, but it still seems like he's still kind of himself right now. And then, of
Well, it's
course,
funny too because
yeah,
later in the episode he seems perfectly
yeah, he
fine.
seems perfectly fine, unless they somehow got it all out of him, or maybe it's just like,
I mean, I
uh,
don't know how, but
or maybe it's
yeah.
Satoru. Maybe it's Satoru, the black one, who
Oh
ends up
yeah.
doing that.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like, of course, whenever it's convenient, Satoru comes in and just just saves everybody.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, but we catch up with I guess you can say it's the final confrontation between the Mizuha Knocker and Fushi.
mhm.
Basically, they're just going one on one, fighting each other, um, to the point where Fushi tries to negotiate with her, just try, to have a one on one chat with her, but you know the Mizuha Knocker just basically just has none of it. And then
Yeah.
she basically every time she lays a killing blow on Fushi, she ends up taking each and every one of the forms. Um but most of the forms that Fushi ends up taking are basically just non-combatant forms, or just the harmless forms, Reen, the old
Uh,
woman, and then
well, then
everything else.
there were other forms he took that were like I think it was one of Tonari's friends
Yeah.
that like was the archer.
Hmm. Yeah, and of course, it gets to the point where I guess Mizuha's about to land another killing blow, but Fushi finally ends up using one of the Hayase descendant forms, which is of course Kahaku. Um,
Yeah.
because throughout the entire show, Fushi's never ever used any of of the forms, like Hayase or any of her descendants because of his hatred towards her and her family. I mean, if you remember back in season
Mhm.
one, I think Hayase herself was the one who said that Fushi should use one of her forms or just use her body as a way, because she's the most skilled combatant, uh, yeah, she's basically just skilled at fighting and everything. And of course, we
Yeah.
remember Fushi just refuses because he hates her. And now Fushi,
I
after all these generations, finally ends up using. Well, he doesn't use her, but he uses Kahaku because, like, he's one of the major first major descendants that he ends up warming up to a little bit, despite some misgivings about him.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess you could say that's some character development at least with Fushi that now he kind of used the Hayase descendants a little bit more favorably. Um, I mean, we do know that he at least was somewhat on good terms with Kahaku, at least until Kahaku just completely lost it.
Yeah, I mean, well, of course, he kind of did sort of redeem himself by,
Yeah,
by
because he does try to get rid of the knocker.
he kills himself and destroys, his knocker. But of course, during like he Fushi does end up putting up a better fight against the Mizuha knocker because for one thing, it catches this version of Mizuha off guard just due to the fact that he's using that form, and of course it gives it somehow gives her like even more immense pain when he cuts off her hand.
Yeah. Um, but then, like you said, he also uses like all these non-combatant forms. Uh, and I don't really know exactly like what his plan was here. Is I assume he's like just trying to get maybe hoping that she would eventually like stop and so that they could like talk things out or something.
Yeah,
Um, but
but before they can do that,
yeah,
well, the knocker version of Mizuha's father ends up stepping in and just basically just shoots the Mizuha knocker dead, and it just like
it's just so it's just reminded me so much of that scene from Jujutsu Kaisen with the what was it the scene where uh yeah, that one the girl gets her head blown off like
yeah.
uh yeah
Yeah,
uh
it just comes out of nowhere, and it's like Fushi's puzzled by like what happened because he wanted to like at least try to negotiate with you know with this knocker, but unfortunately now you know like that the water is like all infested with knockers that it's gonna like infest the entire population around the world, and now and then he and the knocker version of Misa's dad ends up shooting himself in the head, and it just leaves the whole like confrontation inconclusively. So now Fushi after that confrontation, he goes back to the school. He finds like all the students like safe and sound. Other than like he finds out that Tanari technically was killed before she was brought back by Satoru. So yeah, so she's. I mean, we saw her like in the last episode. She was infected by the knockers and basically just like has this knocker ability being possessed by them. But now like she's back to her normal self.
yeah um yeah so yeah and then we see that everybody's basically like everybody's alive basically like all the students that um it seemed like they might have died like they're all okay.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because of Satoru's intervention or either Fushi's friends. Uh, but yeah, everybody's fine.
Yeah, and then they all head back to the house, pretty much like having their own celebration. And then by the end, Fushi has brought back the real Mizuha and her parents back together, and now uh, yeah, that's where the
Yeah,
episode just ends
so
off there.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think that this wasn't going to happen considering Fushi's abilities to just resurrect people, which is again like I always had an issue with this in the show. I think I really felt like as soon as this ability got introduced in the series, which was in season 2, like that's really like I can almost pinpoint like that's where the series like just started to really go downhill.
Yeah.
Because their death is just of no consequence. Well, I mean, it already wasn't a consequence to Fushi because he's immortal, but any of the tragedies he's gone through, it doesn't really matter because those people can just be brought back if Fushi wants to, uh, and that's what happens with Mizuha.
Well, I mean,
I
it's
mean,
also significant because she and her mother are like
I
the
mean,
first
there is
descendants.
significance to it just because, like, yeah, she is part of the Hayase clan, and Fushi wouldn't usually do this for at least the Hayase clan, but I guess Mizuha is now the exception.
Yeah, like she's like literally the first. Like her and her mother are like the first two members of the clan to to be resurrected. But of course, there.
Yeah,
I mean, Mizuha's mother wanted nothing to do with the clan in the first place because she wanted to to get away from them. So there's that
right.
factor, and she wanted like she wanted her daughter to have a more normal life, more normal life in childhood, um, other than being a part of the clan. But of course, they all got dragged back into it anyway. But now with like with knockers, I don't know. Like it's really hard to tell with knockers at this point. I mean,
Well, now it sounds like everybody's just going to be like, in fact, like if the water supply really is like has knockers in the water, then I mean, yeah, the whole population's in danger of potentially being like infected with knockers assimilating into humans.
yeah.
Uh,
So like, even though the battle's over, like the whole war with the Fushina knockers is still far from over because like even Fushi knows
I
this. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wonder if this is just going like up, like I mentioned before, like a parasite route where like they're all going to just be able to come to some kind of an understanding with each other somehow, and just like live in a society of humans and knockers.
yeah, yeah. That's well, that's unfortunate that that looks like that's where they're headed now. Until they supposedly get to the next story arc, which will likely take another generation after that.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that might maybe be the final season, because I think that's the next arc after this one is like a future arc.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's not a bad episode necessarily. Like, it's just kind of suffers from a lot of the problems I've had with the series up to this point. That just being like, I mean, Mizuha doesn't really. I mean, it seems like she got kind of a tragic ending, but of course, Fushi just kind of is able to undo that by just bringing her back to life.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, at least like there are characters like Kahaku that do at least kind of stay dead. Um, the original Hayase stays dead, but it's just anybody can be, like I mentioned before, anybody can be brought back now, and that just kind of cheapens any character death because they can just be brought back to life
yeah,
just as easily.
yeah. I don't know. It just got the show just gets into such a weird direction. It's like um. Honestly, I really felt like the show got into the weird direction ever since they announced the introduced the knockers in the first place. Because at first, like, I didn't know what to
Yeah.
make of the knockers back then, and they just seemed like they just came off like out of nowhere, and now like
Well, for the longest time, we didn't really even know what they were really trying to do.
no, and then I mean it just like got into a much weirder direction even by season two, with with them like just completely undoing all the deaths that we've witnessed and experienced, like back in season one with Fushi, like knowing that he's immortal, that that he's watching all the people that he's loved over the years die. Now it's just like now he's
Yeah, I
just
mean, he would just have like multiple lifetimes of tragedy to deal with, but
yeah,
now that's just kind of not the case. He doesn't have to worry about that. I mean, yeah, of course he'll still like be traumatized by their original deaths, but he could just bring them all back.
yeah, and well he's. I mean, there's some positives like him overcoming his hatred of members of the Hayase clan, and then
Mm.
trying to accept them in some ways. So that I guess you can say that's progress. Um, but then his there's other aspects of of his, I guess you could say, his part of his humanity that he still has a lot more to learn. Like like I said, he says that's the thing
Yeah.
about like what I was hoping for the whole like Mizuha and Fushi dynamic is there to be some kind of romantic relationship, which unfortunately that's not doesn't go anywhere with that because they just drag the knockers into the storyline again, which just completely just it diverts the storyline in such
I
a weird
I really
direction.
feel like the knockers almost should have been like almost completely absent from the plot until like maybe near the end of the season, just so it would have had time to actually go into that character or that arc with that potential arc that should have happened with Mizuha and Fushi,
Yeah,
and then maybe to get it's brought up at the end that Mizuha does have the knocker, because of course as we know every all the generations of the Hyosea clan do have the knocker, but maybe we could be left wondering like, oh, maybe she doesn't have it, and then it could get revealed that she does.
hmm
Uh, but I mean, really, I think that shouldn't have happened until later. But yeah, the problem is the season tried to be about like a lot of different things. It tried to be about like the Fushi's friends trying to live in the modern day. It tried to be about Mizuha, and it tried to be about like the Knockers assimilating with human society. So like we had like kind of like three different plot points that we were like constantly like juggling, and it didn't really try to like it should have like I feel like it just almost should have just focused on like one thing instead of like all these other things that it was trying to do at the same time.
yeah. Uh, yeah. I guess. Well, I guess we'll see where the story goes from there. But it looks like the this part of the storyline is pretty much almost well and done, and at this point, and we'll see where it goes. Assuming if they're gonna move on to the next generation for several years in the future or something like that. And where of
Yeah,
course
that
where
seems to be like the
yeah.
trajectory of the series at this point. Like it's just like that Fushi goes into another period in time where he kind of deals almost like with the same things, just it's with different characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
No, I mean it's I mean yeah, it's just I mean overall like I really feel like Fushi's character like did suffer a lot like you know when it came for when the season started. I really felt like he still struggles like just learning certain aspects of humanity. I mean he had to learn like how like his friends and his family members like had to go about their own lives being brought back into an era that they're not familiar with, and he feels like that he just felt like he's being overprotective of them until he feels like it gets to the point where he's more understanding of their choices now. um
Yeah, like that was one plot point I didn't really have an issue with. Is more so like I guess just how it was handled. But I mean I think it makes sense. Like yeah, he's got to learn to like let some of these people that he's brought back like let them go and like trying to like live their own lives,
yeah,
instead of just like having them like with him all the time.
yeah, I mean obviously like I don't know, I really do feel like that he's gonna end up bringing them back again for another generation, but
Yeah,
it's just it's gonna be weird for them even more because now they're gonna if they get brought back again, now they're gonna have to relearn everything about the new society or
yeah.
whatever it
Like
is.
I mean, I feel like the people he let go, like Gugu for instance, like he should maybe be able to live his own life in the modern day or something, and then it should almost be like, don't bring me back again because I feel like I've lived a fulfilling life. Do just after you brought me back in the modern day, and I don't want to come back and like live again or whatever. Um, but I feel like he's probably I wouldn't be surprised if he just gets brought back again.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be, yeah, we don't even know what happened to Gugu ever since he moved out, uh, back to his home country. So
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be an interesting dynamic for the next story arc if like if Fushi brings him back again, but then Gugu just like confronts Fushi about like why am I being brought back into the future, knowing that like I started a family or something like that. I mean
yeah.
it could be
Well, that's the
implied.
other issue I've brought up before too, is that there's no real like, aside from maybe some things with Tanari here and there in this season, there's no real like character drama between Fushi and the others he's brought back. a lot of them just kind of usually end up going along with whatever he wants, and they don't really like push back that much against him.
I mean, there's about
Or
I think there are about a couple characters, I think, but I think we know Bond is
yeah,
like kind of through and through.
well, Bond, yeah,
Ruthless,
Bond at
but
least it kind of usually goes off doing his own thing.
yeah, I mean, March is like he's like she's like I don't know, like I really feels like she needs to grow up for once. Like we only see
Yeah,
her.
I'm really. That's another thing too. I'm really tired of March just being like she's always just a kid. Like, and yet if you think about it, like mentally she should be an adult, but she still just like looks and acts like a kid.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I really hope that they I don't know really like develop their their characters a little bit more. Honestly, I would really love to see like the other characters outside of Fushi develop a little bit more in the
Yeah.
process because but at the same time it's hard to see like how the story can really progress if they just keep bringing back the knockers again because that's where I feel
Hmm.
that's how I really felt like this season really struggled because they keep dragging the knockers back into the story which kind of dragged out like Fushi's development as well as his friends and family that he's brought back into the storyline.
Yeah. No, I mean I completely agree. Um, yeah, but yeah. That all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.